Hello there, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now today I was reading an article in the Times newspaper, a somewhat inflammatory article about French President Emmanuel Macron. And basically the tone of the article said that the president was in the habit of wearing, believe it or not, too much cologne. And the cologne which Emmanuel Macron chooses is none other than Sauvage by French fragrance house Dior. I didn't realize it, but this is the most popular fragrance in the world. And it's certainly one which floats the boat of the French president. It's said that he applies so much of this stuff that when people are working in the Élysée Palace, where he spends his time, they can actually detect when the president is entering a certain part of the palace because the odour which he emanates, the fragrance of Sauvage, hits them before he bodily enters the room. And you know, he is known to top up his fragrance as the day goes on. He keeps a bottle of this in his desk drawer, and you know, if he's going to meet somebody or somebody special is coming in, he'll have a few more squirts, and it just, you know, the guy apparently reeks of this cologne to the extent that, you know, everybody knows when he's there by his fragrance. They have said that the French president actually carefully stage manages his image in every element of his life. You know, he likes to be seen as a vibrant, vivacious, somewhat younger, I know he's only in his 40s, world leader. You know, he has released images in the past of him, you know, boxing in black and white, sort of arty images. Also images of him relaxing on a sofa with his shirt undone to the waist and his chest hair hanging out for the world to see. And very much part of this stage management is his fragrance. He uses it really to assert his dominance. He wears a big, strong, powerful fragrance. It's almost like the dominant, lion in a pride of lions, marking their territory by, you know, using urine. But when it comes to the French president, instead of urine, he uses Sauvage by Dior. Closely related, I would say, but there we go. It's almost like he's saying, watch out, here I come. You know, this is the smell of a president. When it comes to the use of fragrance, I think there's a really fine line that you've got to walk, you know, between leaving a memorable impression of yourself by a lovely odor, or overwhelming the room. And you've got to be careful because, you know, sometimes too much cologne, it can set off people's allergies, it can give people headaches. I certainly get headaches if I'm around really powerful, heavy fragrances too much. Some people, you know, it sets off their sensibilities, they'll be sneezing. There's all sorts of issues you can have. It can really rub people up the wrong way if you've got an intrusive, off-putting fragrance, particularly in enclosed spaces where you're going to be very close to people, you know, and it brings into question really your self-awareness about what you're wearing. Because if you're wearing something so powerful that it can really get up people's noses quite literally, you know, it says something about you as an individual and what you think and how you treat other people around you. Sends the wrong message, doesn't it? So I've got some tips here today. What have I got? I've got 3 tips as to how you can employ fragrance in your life. You can walk that tightrope between leaving a good impression and not overwhelming people and leaving a bad impression by the smell that you choose to accompany you through life. Now, my first tip for you will actually begin a long time before you put fragrance anywhere near your skin, and that is, think about what you've got to do today, think about the setting and what your plans are for the day ahead, and then choose a fragrance which is commensurate with that outcome that you're aiming to achieve. Because if you're going to spend the day maybe in an office, in a vehicle, in an aeroplane, in close proximity to other people, I would suggest leaving your super strong, dense and powerful fragrances in the drawer at home and choosing something which is perhaps light and airy and maybe somewhat short-lived. Because, you know, if you're choosing a nose buster like Emmanuel Macron, like Sauvage, which is very powerful, it always has been, you know, it really assaults the senses. People know when you're wearing this stuff when you walk into a room, and I can imagine being stuck in a car or in a cubicle at work with somebody who's wearing this. It could become a very old experience very quickly if you don't enjoy this fragrance. So think about what you are going to do that day before you pick your fragrance. Leave those dense fragrances at home if you're going to be near people. Similarly, you know, you can wear that dense fragrance, yeah, of course you can, but wear it when you're going out for the evening, maybe, when you're going to be maybe in a pub or a club where there's lots of air around you. Maybe an evening like tonight, an outdoor barbecue in a friend's garden. You can go mad then. You can wear it then because there's going to be lots of air around. It's going to dissipate that fragrance. It's not going to be unpleasant for somebody. My next tip for you is the physicality, really, of how you apply this stuff. Do not just take the lid off there in the morning and start spraying it all over yourself. You know, you put it on the wrists, you put it on your chest, on your head, on your clothing. You start spraying it everywhere. And, you know, obviously you want that smell. You like that smell. You've selected it. You're putting it on because it's something which resonates with you and you've covered yourself in it. But the reality is you don't need to do that. All right, just for me, when I'm putting a powerful fragrance on, I just put a squirt at the nape of my neck and a couple of squirts maybe just on the chest area, under my clothing. Because these are areas which naturally radiate a little bit of heat. You know, the chest, it's the core of the body, the back of the neck, right? There are large veins which run up alongside the spine there. You know, they're a kind of a pulse point for the body, and they're warm, and it helps to diffuse that fragrance naturally as the day goes on. You don't want to smother yourself in the stuff because it's just going to be overwhelming, too powerful. And just remember, less is more in most occasions when it comes to fragrance. A little squirt here and there, that's all that you need. Now, my last quite straightforward tip for you is test your sillage. Don't trust your nose. Now, sillage is that French term which means, you know, the fragrance that lingers in your wake as you maybe walk along. You know, maybe you've walked behind somebody who was walking down a corridor in an airport or in a building or something, and you catch that whiff of their cologne. That's the sillage. It's what's those particles which come off you as you're going along, and they're picked up by people as they're around you. Because the thing is, after you've been wearing something for a while, you become nose blind to it, right? You become sort of desensitized to that fragrance because you've had it on for a while. And, you know, you're so familiar with that fragrance, you don't even notice that you're wearing it. One of the things I always do to test if I've got too much cologne on is, you know, maybe I'm sat in my office, typing away on my computer. You know, maybe I'll get up, go to the toilet, make myself a cup of tea, come back into the room a couple of minutes later, and if I can still smell my presence from when I was in that room before, that is an indication that you are wearing perhaps habitually a little bit too much cologne. You know, and remember, when you have it on, you go nose blind. You might think it's not smelling, not emanating its fragrance anymore, but it might still be very potent to people who just come into your, you know, your presence. So don't think, keep squirting it on. You know, halfway through the day, layer it on again, like apparently our good friend, the French president does, keeps a bottle in his drawer, squirts a load on at lunchtime, or when somebody special's coming into the room, and he's just layering on different levels of the same fragrance. Remember, don't trust your own nose. Ask somebody, right? Is my cologne too strong? Or do that little test. Leave the room, come back in a couple of minutes later. If you can still smell your presence in the air, maybe you're wearing a little bit too much of the good stuff. Now, my final word for you today, and this is coming out directly to you, President Macron. Just remember one thing. Your cologne should be merely an extension of your presence in this world, not a substitute for it. It shouldn't be arriving before you do in any room. And if it is, you're wearing too much cologne. Tone it back. Apply those principles we've just discussed, and you won't be assaulting anybody's nostrils anytime soon. So there we go. I hope that brought some clarity for you. If you've enjoyed the video, like it, subscribe for more. Don't forget, if you want to join me on this journey to Chap's Nirvana, become a patron. You'll benefit from the extra videos I make each week, and also personal dialogue with me. And you'll be the first to know about the events and other things we have going on, which will help you on your journey to Chap Nirvana. So until the next time, smell well, and I'll see you again very soon.